All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Conversations of the Heart. As always, it is your boy T Till. We have a very special guest today, T Michelle. She is an esteemed author, and we're gonna get into this particular book in a little bit. But because I really want to know about this book, Which Way to the South. But T. Michelle has been writing since the age of 9, right? So I mean, it's amazing that she's only been writing 12 years. I mean, can't be any more than 21 years old, right? So, looking young and amazing. But she's been writing
Oh,
since 9 years old. And she's been inspired to write through her life experiences and different challenges, and has some incredible support and push from her mother and of course, her dad used to read her bedtime stories, and that's inspiring, right? So for the parents out there, please keep pushing your kids to dream and to believe into their goals and aspirations, because they might turn out like T. Michelle as an author, doing some amazing things. So T. Michelle, thank you for coming on the show and doing this. We definitely appreciate it. So for my listeners, um, please tell the listeners a little bit about you and what got you started with the writing.
well, first, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So definitely, it's been a journey for me. I have been writing since I was 9 years old. I did grow up in LA when I was young, and it was rough. It was rough
Mm.
out there. And
Hmm.
that's where the life experience began. So I had some incredible parents. I still have my parents, but incredible parents. My mother, she's encouraged me to read. My mom is
Mm.
definitely a book reader. She had a whole library. But she would tell me, like, I'm young, I'm ready to go outside and play. Back in the days, that's what we did. We went outside and played with everybody. And she was like, nope, we're gonna go to the library, you're gonna pick out a book, you're gonna read a chapter, and you're gonna write a paragraph. I'm like, oh my God, so I'm
Mm.
thinking she's being mean. but but it ended up really being a blessing for me. And on top of that, when I was younger, my dad used to tell me bedtime stories. And as he was telling me the bedtime stories, he used to, jump into the character, make these goofy faces and everything, and it sticks with you when you're an adult. You're never going to forget those opportunities or situations.
Never.
And because I had those two situations, as I was growing up by 9 years old, I was like, you know what? My imagination was stimulated. I was like, I feel like I can take myself out of the present world and create my own world.
Hmm.
And with doing that, I was able to create some amazing things. And that was my getaway. I used to draw little comments, little pictures, comics and pictures, and
Hmm.
then I used to go ahead and write my stories. And then I started. I have so many stories backed up because I was writing so much. And life started lifing. And so
Mm.
I didn't took a while before me to, to push my books, out. So I encourage all those who are writers, don't wait, just go ahead and do it.
Talking to me, everybody. She is talking to me.
Don't wait. but
Absolutely.
but yeah, it's definitely been that's pretty much my story of how I got
Hmm.
started.
Wow. So, and we're gonna get into, of course, being a drama coach and things like that. We're gonna get into that in just a little bit. But when it comes to writing, I think people get writer's block. It is something that is not easy. It may come easy for some, for a lot of people, but for some, it's you get writer's block and things like that. But aside from just writing books and letting it be an expression, like how has that helped you cope with life? I mean, I would say, I encourage people to write in journals and things like that. Like that is important to let out your feelings. And, if you can't express it verbally, then put it on paper, right? Some of the best songs that we love from back in the day, that was from trauma, right? Mary
That
J,
part,
her whole
yes.
career is based on, drama and trauma, right? And but how has writing helped you cope in life?
Wow. Well, like I was saying, my mom, she had me reading a lot. And when you read, it stimulates your imagination. You pretty much create the characters that you want in your mind.
Mm.
That helps a lot with writing. When you start developing these stories, you start developing characters.
Mm.
and then after a while, once you really get into your writing, it really takes you into another world. It ends up being your world. And you can
Absolutely.
make it however you want to make it. And
Hmm.
so that's definitely what I did. It's a journey, and I pretty much would, allow it to take me on that journey. As far as the writer's block, I also get writer's block sometimes. But what happens is sometimes, like when you're creative and you keep your mind stimulated, you could be
Mm.
driving. Happens to me a lot. Then all of a sudden, an idea to come to you, and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yes.
Oh, let me write that down. I gotta pull over real fast. I gotta write this down. Be in the grocery store. Oh my God, just randomly. The important
Hmm.
thing is, if that happens, do not put it off. If
Mm.
you're driving, pull over. But find a little piece of paper somewhere and jot those ideas down.
Mm.
Eventually, when you do that, you'll start noticing bits and pieces of your story, and it'll start coming together. You
Man.
know, and that happens a lot too. So, and that kind of helps with the writer's block.
And, um, as you say, and as the young kids say, life be life, right? And so and this could just be a me thing, but maybe not. When life really starts to go crazy, and you have a project like a book, and you're trying to write, I think, been derailed quite a few times with life. Gets crazy. And that's the last thing you want to do, right? Is write a book, right? Or write down chapters, because life can get really crazy on many different levels. So, what advice do you have for people, right? That may be like me, um, who's going through life and lives, and they could be going through a lot of different things. It could be death in the family, sickness in the family, loss of a job, income, just a lot of different things that affects people, and especially with their mental health and things like that. And sometimes that mental block comes in, not just writer's block, but it's a mental block because they got a lot of real life stuff going on.
Absolutely.
Um, what advice would you give them?
Okay, so this is what I learned also in my journey.
Mm.
Meditation is very important. I didn't know that, been a Christian all my life. And then when I realized about meditation, at first I thought it was just a horrible thing. I was like, and then when I really looked into it and found out that it's something that's needed,
Mm.
and one thing is we can't move forward if we don't have balance,
Mm.
and as long as we balance ourselves, our mental, our health, and take care of ourselves, we'll be able to, get that, the juices rolling again in your brain and you're ready to start going. But also, if you're going through trauma, the best thing that sometimes you got to take a break,
Mm.
take a break, because you got to deal with the issues,
Mhm.
start working on balancing yourself and getting yourself in line, you know. And
Mm.
then once you do that, and then you start feeling inspired, then start writing, because me, it's been times that I have to put the book down for a minute, get myself together, because I don't want to write nothing crazy. Because sometimes we got a bunch of stuff in our head, we start writing some crazy. It's got to make sense.
Absolutely.
And then, when you feel like you pretty much got yourself back on track, then go ahead and go for it.
Mm.
You
I love
know.
that. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. So, let's kind of go ahead and kind of get into this particular book because I want to know a lot more about it. Which Way to the South? Um, what is it about? Where can people get it?
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so the name of the story is Could You Please Tell Me Which Way to the South?
Hmm.
Okay, it was inspired by my son when he was 2 years old. I wrote a few books, when he was young. And
Hmm.
one thing that I always try to make sure that I put messages in my stories.
Hmm.
We have young children, and people always look at young children like they don't know any better. No, they pick up things when they're really young and they
Hmm.
remember.
Absolutely.
I remember the amazing things that happened with me when I was young, and they got me to where I am now. So in my stories, I try to make sure that it's something that's going to impact young readers as well as adults, because a lot of times, especially we have young ones, we have adults that's doing the reading,
Yeah.
but then I want the adults to be able to learn as well. Now with our story, it's about a little bird
Mm.
who's preparing to fly to the south with the rest of the birds. It's starting to get cold, and a lot of times, if you know the story about birds and you start seeing forming and all these different beautiful patterns, and a lot of times they're actually flying to another area, another location where it's more comfortable,
Mm.
and they're trying to escape the heavy weather or whatnot. So it's about a little bird and his flock of birds that's trying to fly to the south. Unfortunately, little bird gets left behind,
Mm,
you know, and because he couldn't catch up with the rest of the flock. Now, in the story, in order for little bird to find everybody, because remember they're gone,
mm-hmm,
he has to be bold. He has to have strong determination. He has
mm,
to figure it out, and remember he's young, and he has to figure, how can I weather the storm? How
mm,
can I go through the storm? Can I even make it through the storm? Because if you look at it, if he doesn't know where the flock is, he's a little bird. How is he going to find the storm unless he believes in himself?
mm,
So you have a little determined bird. He figured out a way to find his way to the south, and he made it. And the moral of the story is, if you put your heart to it, you will weather whatever. Doesn't matter what storm comes your way, you can weather
mm,
that storm. It's all about your self-determination. If you believe in yourself that you can do it,
mm.
and that's by life experience.
That's powerful. And speaking of determination and overcoming, there's gonna be people here listening to this, and it's like, wow, like this is an amazing story, and could be really understood by all because we all go through, life's ups and downs. We just talked about life be life and how bad sometimes life can get for people, right? And for your own personal journey, right? What are some of your best practices that has gotten you to really to overcome, to really withstand those tests and time, right? What are some of the things that you've done in your journey through life when these trials and tribulations come? What have you done to kind of weather those storms?
Well, I have a fantastic testimony on that one.
Mm, we
so
all is.
with my writing, I went through a devastating divorce. It was very
Mm,
devastating,
mm,
and during that time I couldn't think straight. I was just all over the place. I worked for the school district, and I
mm-hmm.
had a teacher come to me one time. She's like, I'm trying to find out, I want to do a play for the kids, and I don't know what to do, and da 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 da. And I was like, well, I write. You do? And I was like, yeah, I write. She's like, oh, can you write up a little something? I said, sure.
Mm.
And I ended up writing a production.
Wow.
And we did our first performance. This was at Fairfax Elementary School. We did our performance, and everybody loved it. We actually did a full-fledged production. Um, and actually, that is turning that into a storybook as well. I've actually done this particular production like 4 or 5 times,
Wow.
along with other productions that I've done, because I do, from my journey of all the hardship I was going through, I ended up being also a playwright, and I started doing musicals.
Mm,
So I went to several schools within the district. We put on several performances. One year, the Board of Education even asked us to come down and perform for them. So we went down and performed for the Board of Education. And it's been an amazing journey. And that's led me to what we're doing now. Our current project, along with the books, is starting a theater company, TNF Amazing Storybook Productions, and that will be launching really soon. And we have some wonderful people ready for that to go.
that's
So,
amazing.
and that was from trauma.
That was birth through trauma, right? That
Absolutely.
is amazing. And being a drama coach, right, for over 20 years, right? And now to launching, right, theater company. TNF, Amazing Storybook Productions. I mean, that is something that is amazing. And I hope you guys, stay tuned for that. 2025 is major accomplishment. So one, congratulations. That
Well,
that
thank
that is a
you. Thank
huge
you.
accomplishment. Not people aren't just starting up theater companies now. Like let's be clear. Like that's not something that you see people doing every single day.
Yeah.
So to see someone like you, especially a woman of color, one of us, doing some amazing things, that is to be celebrated and that is to be honored. And congratulations to you on
Oh,
on
thank
all of
you.
those things, and would love to, whenever that is open, to come out and tour it and take a look through it and support as much as I can.
Absolutely. That would be amazing.
Absolutely. And you spoke of a devastating divorce. Like, that's something we have in common. I went through a divorce too. Um, and those things aren't easy. And everybody takes it differently and processes things differently. And some people I can say they view things from a divorce perspective, like, oh my God, it's like a scarlet letter. Like like you've been divorced, like, life is over. But no, but a lot of times it's just a rebirth, right? And and there could be a young woman out there like yourself who's going through um this exact thing that you have gone through. What
Yes.
advice would you give them as they navigate those sometimes messy waters, muddy waters of divorce?
Yes. For as a woman, young women out there understand, I've been divorced for a while now. During that time, you feel like, oh my gosh, but he's my world. I don't know where I could live without him. Nobody else will ever want me. And all this crazy stuff going through your head. Man, that's a lie. Don't fall for it. It's not true. I realized that, once I did get into the dating world, and I know, like, when you're going through a divorce, you're not trying, a lot of times you're not trying to hurry up and date somebody else. You're just going through the trauma. But the best thing to do is you got to keep your peace of mind. Like I said at the beginning, meditation, prayer, pray,
Mm,
pray, pray
mm,
to God. He will give you the strength. He's there
mm,
for you. Just know
mm,
you have to do that. And focus. Focus is the word. You have to focus. And with your prayer and your meditation, then start thinking about, what do you love to do. you
mm,
know
mm,
start slowly start working on the things that you love to do. Mine was writing. I like arts and craft. I started doing little craft projects, just little things to kind of amuse myself. And then I
mhm,
started building up more confidence within myself.
mm,
And then I started, little by little, when I started realizing who I am, and I started talking to myself and encouraging myself how great I am. I'm a wonderful person. I don't need
mhm.
anybody to say anything differently. Encourage yourself, not being conceited. It's just encouraging yourself and
Right.
and kind of leveling yourself up. So then you get the confidence to kind of push forward.
Mm,
Because, see, a lot of times when we do get married, especially if you have a bad divorce, you feel like you're put in a box, and it's hard to climb out that box.
mm,
But you have to remember, you are not in the box. You are not the box. You are whoever you are. You're uniquely wonderful individual. Find out what your uniquenesses are, and whatever the things that you love to do, and pursue those things. You never know, you might be something great.
mm, mm. And that's powerful because a lot of times that comes with loss, right? With people, whether that be divorce or death. I think I've seen when people lose a loved one passes away. A lot of times they're like, well, who am I now, right? Like, where do I start? One, because it's grief, and whether that's the grief of divorce or loss, it's still a loss, right? So you're grieving this person, you're grieving the situation. Sometimes you can get lost in that. You've been one way for so many years, and that's been your identity, right? But
Yes.
then sometimes it's reaching back and saying, well, who was I before this, right?
Yes.
Who do I want to be after this, right? It's very powerful what you said, like getting your confidence back. A lot of times you can lose confidence when you go through a divorce and things like that, for various different reasons. And so, getting that confidence back, understanding that you do have power, you do hold power, and that you are somebody,
Absolutely.
and the other thing is that you're lovable. You're still
Yes.
lovable. You're not damaged goods,
That's
right?
right.
Things happen to people, right? And sometimes I feel there's pressure to be one and done. And
Yeah.
believe me, I listen, my parents were married 43 years before my dad passed away.
Mm.
And I'm telling you,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
pressure, right? I think, and my brother's about to be married, about to be 10 years next year, right?
Oh, wow.
And then there's
Beautiful.
me. And then there's me, right? Right? Right?
Yeah.
And so there's always the pressure of, man, like that was supposed to be, the thing that was supposed to be, um, the one and done, right? And I think sometimes, but in life, not everybody gets the one and done. And that's even in business. People have failed businesses, three, four failed businesses before they
Yes.
they get their one successful one. I'm not saying going out there and get three or four marriages. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be clear. If I'm saying if if for some reason it just doesn't work out, just know that there is something on the other side of
Yes.
this. It's not a death sentence. It's not a scarlet letter. It's not something that you can't recover from. And I think that is the key is like you can still recover from divorce. You can love after divorce. You can date after divorce. Um, and those are the things, right, that is key. And one of the biggest things for divorced people is to learn why they got divorced,
Hmm.
right? Like
Absolutely.
learn lessons so that you don't repeat them, right?
That's right.
And so, and I think accountability is key. I think it always takes two people to ruin a marriage. It does.
Yes.
And it's always easy to point blame and this and that. And if you're the person that points the blame, probably haven't learned. And then you're probably going to your next relationship doing the same mistakes.
That's
Um,
real talk.
and sometimes you gotta look in the mirror and say, hey, champ, you some of that stuff was you, bro. Was you, player. Like, yeah, I know you think you fly and everything, but that some of that stuff was you, dog. Right. And so,
Right.
but those are the things that makes you realize, hey, man, that was, and I don't want to respect, and I don't want to, make that mistake again. Right.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean it was your fault that the relationship ended. It just means that multiple parties played a role. And even if it was more so the other person, that's perfectly fine. But there's still lessons in that divorce that you can learn from, take
Always.
from, and move forward and be a better person.
Yeah.
Um, so, and from your perspective, when it comes to the next level, like you just birthed a whole theater company out of trauma, right? And pain, right?
Yes.
And when you have kids, right? What do you go through before they're birthed?
Mm.
Pain,
Hmm.
discomfort. Sometimes it could be messy. Well, sometimes the birthing process is messy. There's morning sickness. There's, once you give birth, it's messy. It could be messy, right? There's pains, right? There's things that go on. You're like, listen, give me the epidural, please. Hey, right,
Yeah.
right. And these are things, and along the way, there could be complications, right?
Yes.
But
Hmm.
that's all part of the birthing process to birth a new
Yeah.
life into something, right? And for you, you use that pain and that time in your life, which was painful, had some contractions, some complications, some things didn't work out, pain,
Mm.
right? But it birthed something,
Yes.
new
Yeah.
life. It birthed new life, new things that's coming out of this thing that was so painful, right? And that's always a birthing process. You have to go through the pain to birth something new and something beautiful,
Right.
right? And that's what you did. Like you
Yeah.
did that, right? And that is the birthing, right?
Yes.
And I think that is the best thing. I think out of this whole story is you birth something amazing. You birth stories. You bring forth stories. You bring forth books. You bring forth a new business, a theater company. Out of all the pain, out of all the suffering, out of all the discomfort, right? Out of all the things that's just like, that was pretty ugly.
Yes.
But look at what's on the other side of this thing,
God's amazing. Yes.
right? And so that's also a testament to you and to your perseverance, to your resolve, and to your determination. Um, and I know that there are people that are going to listen to this and say, wow, look at what she took out of her pain and look at what happened to her now. Right. And I know, as you probably know, that when you're going through stuff, you can't even see it.
That's right. That is truth. Yes. Absolutely.
You want to see
Absolutely.
it,
Hmm.
but you can't see it.
No, no, you
All
sure can.
all you
No.
see is what's in front of you, and it's not pretty and it's not good and it hurts,
And
right?
it doesn't
But
feel good, right?
it don't feel good at all. But the mentality that you have to persevere, to stand strong, to tap into your creative abilities, um, that is something that is a lesson too. I think to people as well as learn from your mistakes. Yes.
Yes.
Um, lean into your mistake, like lean into it. Don't avoid it, right? Because you'll end up making the same mistake. Um, but then lean into also what makes you you, like you said, that creative side, right?
Absolutely.
And some people they try to, like when it comes to trauma and pain, they will start doing things that's not for them. So they'll take out more projects. Oh well, I gotta just do this project. I gotta outwork the pain. I don't want to think about it. So now you're just doing things to mask what you're trying to like feel, right? It's like I don't want to feel this pain, so I'm gonna pick up another job. I'm gonna pick up two or three jobs. I'm gonna do this project, do that project.
Wow,
It's
that's
like
so true.
right, and what you're
Mm.
doing is it's avoidance, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you have to meet the pain head on so you can push through it and make it through. The longer you deter, the pain is still there. At some point, it's gonna come out at some point in time. When that is, I don't know. It could be years. The longer you delay, it's gonna live somewhere up here until at some point you gotta face it, right? So
Yes.
the one thing I love that you did was tap into what was you,
Yes.
because a lot of people tap into what has nothing to do with them. They just get involved in stuff so that they can just don't have to think about what happened,
Hmm.
right? You can't drink it away. You can't sex it away. You can't outwork it. It
Right.
is not a thing. You got to
Hmm.
address what you've been through.
Hmm.
Like you said, pray. I'm an advocate for therapy, right?
Hmm.
Please
Oh
get
yeah,
yourself some
that's
help,
that's a good one.
right?
Hmm.
Grief counseling, whatever that thing is, do that. And then
Hmm.
tap in to what is you. What
Hmm.
makes you tick? What makes you happy? What makes you thrive? Not useless work. That is something
Absolutely.
because when you get through the useless work, you're gonna still sit here and go, "Oh, it's still here."
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
like wow, I did all this work and I'm still heartbroken. I'm still sad. I'm still going through trauma. I'm still, and the time that you put in you doing that useless work, you could have been at therapy. You
Hmm.
could have been journaling. You could have been doing this and that, right? You could have been creating a theater company,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
sometimes avoidance leads to procrastination of the things that you should be doing.
Hmm.
That is a tough thing. So, if there's anything I want people to get from you, right? It's do what is for you. You get the
Yes.
help, pray, of course, seek help, and do what fits you. Find out what fits you and
Yes.
do that. And that is an amazing testimony that you have that I wish and I hope and I pray that when people listen to this, that is what they get from this. And if you want to be a writer, this is for you. But even if not, the one thing I want people to get is just that is that
Yeah.
perseverance, right? And it's also just doing what's best for you that you love, right? So
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Oh my gosh, I applaud you for that.
you
And I
got me
would like
going.
to,
You got me
right?
going.
I'd like to definitely add to that if possible.
Please do.
Another thing that helped is, you know, it's good to help people. Okay. So as I was growing up, I've always worked with inner city youth. you know.
Mm.
And I never understood that when I was young, why my mom, she kept putting me, working for the city of San Bernardino, and I was working with any inner city youth. But then you start realizing how much they're reaching back out to you, and how they want help. So when I was doing my theater projects, I would work with inner city youth, and I would work with the ones I was specifically pick the ones who are having the most trauma, the most problem, the ones who's giving everybody a hard time.
Hmm.
you know some would call them the bullies or whatever. I would pull them aside, I would talk to them, I would take them under my wing. I even had one principal tell me, "Now I'm pulling him out of drama because he's getting in trouble today." I said, "No, no, no, do not pull him out of drama. Let me work with him, let me talk to him. Don't snatch that from him." And I
Mm.
continued to work with him, and he ended up being such an amazing young man.
Wow.
And it's been several youth that will come through the theater. They didn't even know if they can act, sing, or dance. Some are really shy, didn't
Mm.
even know they'd be on the stage, and they ended up being one of the best performers. So you never know. Don't
Wow.
shut out other people. Start, whatever you can do to help the community. That was self-healing for me too.
Mm.
That actually helped me with my trauma as well, is because when I felt, hey, I made a difference for somebody else, I brightened somebody else's day. God has his way of giving that back to you.
Mm.
And it's an inner peace, and it's such a beauty about just reaching out and helping someone else who's struggling, who's going through something in life. We never know what people are going through, and that's how come we have to show more love, compassion, peace upon one another. Get rid of all the strife, because you never know what people are going through, you know. And we
That
keep
is.
that in mind, we'll be amazing.
Hmm. No, you are 1,000% right. Um, People suffer in silence every single day. So you
Yes,
really don't know why um, people are the way they are. You don't know what they're going through. Um, and you're right. You hit the nail right on the head. Helping people helps you. Heal people,
that's right.
right?
That's right.
Um, and I always encourage people, if you can do something for somebody, please do it.
Yes.
I mean, it takes you nothing. If you could offer some type of assistance to somebody, and you never know how that's going to come back to you, or come
Absolutely.
back to your kids, or come back to your family. Like, it's always good to help people and bless people.
Very important, just
Mhm,
knowing, and it gets more than just, I'm hoping, I'm thinking this will happen, something good. Faith is more of, I know it's going to happen.
mhm.
And I got a bunch of those testimonies.
Ooh, wee.
But well, I will call it and it'll happen.
Mm,
And
I
so the
love
thing
that.
is, you just have to trust, and as long as it's, positive and loving, then everything will work out.
Mm, that's amazing. Um, so you said your faith journey.
Yes.
It's really knowing that
Yes.
these things are gonna happen. But somebody might say, T Michelle, come on now. How do you know these
Hmm.
things are gonna happen? Life be lifing. How do you know? Like,
Hmm.
how do you know? Right. And if somebody were to say, T Michelle, how do you keep the faith? Or how do I get as strong as faith as you?
Hmm.
Right? Because people go through some crazy stuff in life, some heartbreaking stuff in life. And sometimes it could just be, I'm so discouraged. I don't know where I'm getting this faith that you talk about. I don't
Hmm.
know where I'm getting this from. Right. So if somebody were to ask you, hey, Team Michelle, how do I keep this faith going, this faith journey going? Because it's hard.
Yes. Well, first I would ask, do you believe in you? Do you
Mm,
believe in your abilities? If all these other people, like everything that you see in life that's all around you, came from a thought.
mm,
The buildings didn't just pop up there. This didn't just happen. Wi-Fi didn't just happen. It came from a thought,
mm,
and it came from people who believed it can happen. So if you
mm,
have a thought and you build on that thought and that dream, it can happen. It's all about a mindset. Now, if you
mm,
don't believe, then it won't happen. But if
mm.
you strongly believe, you know what? I'm gonna make a flying saucer. Let's get crazy with it. I'm gonna make a flying saucer. um, they made airplanes back in the day when they didn't think they could make airplanes. It came
Fair,
from a thought, you know?
fair point. Hmm.
Yeah. They talked about flying cars. Well, they're not out, but they actually did make a flying car. Somebody came with that idea. Who would have thought a flying car? That's a little out there.
What
Nothing is
happened?
impossible. We make it impossible.
Mm,
So it's up to you if you're going to believe, that whatever you want to create or whatever you want to believe, it's up to you to believe that.
mm,
It's actually by choice and by faith. Trust the most high, read your Bible. Faith is all in there. It talks about it all over the place.
hmm.
I'm actually not even saying anything different. And all you're doing is following the principles.
Mm,
you know it's all about believing in you, believing that it can happen. If you know it can happen, it will happen.
mm. I love that. And I can tell that you definitely believe in you.
Yeah.
Um, which is, no, I mean, which is great because I believe, especially when, people who look like us, like sometimes we don't,
Yes.
sometimes we underestimate ourselves. Sometimes we don't believe that, the best is meant for us, right? Because, I mean, it could be because of historical reasons, it could just be life in general, but sometimes we count ourselves out, so what you're saying makes a lot of sense. You know, because who else is going to believe in you but you,
Absolutely. And we have a lot
right?
of trauma, especially for us as people. We have a lot of trauma. We have trauma from back in the day to trauma that we deal with our personal lives. It's just trauma all around. So you turn your trauma into triumph.
Mm,
And so that's what I tell people, you know,
mm,
turn your bitterness into beauty.
wow.
You know, it's all up to you or how it's all about your perception,
Hmm.
you know?
Wow. And that's true. I like that. I like that. Um, so the one thing that I like about this story that you have, and I say story because you're a storyteller and I can see, right, because I'm visualizing things and I can see um, kind of what you've gone through. I mean, your life could have been a problem or could be a movie. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you're working on
Yeah,
that. I'm not saying you're working on that, Tyler Perry. I'm not saying you're working on that, but
right?
I'm just saying, you know, could be. Right. But I think when it comes to this this journey of storytelling, that you've embarked on, whether it be stage, being just writing books and things like that, and then you are actually now paying it forward, like I assume, with this theater company that now people can now get involved in writing with you, right? Or
Yes,
and creating their own stories and putting it out there, right? And
yes,
them letting go of their traumas and putting it on paper, right? And that is amazing. What I'm seeing, right, from just you, right, in this space and time, right, because that is an amazing thing. There's lots of actors. There's lots of people out there that want to act. And they're out there in the they're out there in LA and Atlanta, right? They're looking
yes.
to act. They're in New York City, doing theater and all of those things. Um, and this is going to be, in my humble opinion, a safe space.
Yes, and that's what we want. Exactly. You've been sitting in my board meetings.
I'd love to. But I think that's what I'm getting, right? Is
Yes,
the safe space for people who might look like us, who maybe can't tell their stories in other theater companies, right? Who, because it could be too much, right?
yeah,
You got to toe the line on with different companies and different things, and maybe this is not for us, right? But for you, for Team Michelle, for TNF Amazing Storybook Productions, this is for us, right?
yes,
This is what we do. This is for you to come here and tell your story in the way that you want to tell it, and
yeah,
express in the way that you want to express it in an art form, right? If you don't want to go to therapy, this is art therapy, This
Yes.
is your expression here. This is going to be the place for you to come, and maybe it could be uncomfortable, but
Mhm.
you made your in uncomfortable, right? And I think that in and of itself is when people hear your testimony, when people hear what you've gone through, when people hear how you persevered and birthed this theater company, it's like that's what I want to be a part of. That's where I
Yeah.
want to tell my story. That is where I need to be and bring my folks with me to really hone in and tell these stories that could be uncomfortable, that could be filled with trauma, that could be, painful. But this
Mhm.
is the place because it's safe.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. Yes.
And that's what I envision. Not that it matters what I envision, but that's what I see sometimes, when I look at you and
Mhm.
when I see this production company that's about to start. Um, I see great things for it, obviously.
Thank you.
But I see safe. And
Yes.
people that look like us need more safe spaces. And as we
Yes.
can see in Hollywood, we really need to be safe. We need a
Yes.
place
Yes.
where, our actors and
Wow.
actresses and writers need a place
Yes.
to be safe, right? Where things are going to be done the right way, ethically, um, without the
Wow, it's like
foolishness.
you've been in my head. Wow. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep. And where people can just say, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna send my kid to act here. It's gonna be a safe place. Ain't gonna be no foolishness. It's here for serious business, right? It's gonna be fun, but it's serious business. It's not gonna be no foolishness that go on other places. Like we're here to do amazing work, put on professional work, and be amazing. But it's
Yes.
gonna be safe for
Yeah.
everyone of all ages, men, women, children. Is going to be safe for them, and that's something that I think is amazing. And I think that we need more of in the art space, in the drama spaces. Um, is what happens once they leave school? What happens once they, want to be creative? What happens, right? People get chewed up and spit out in Hollywood and sometimes Broadway and things like that, right? But that's where it comes in. Well, what happens? TNF happens,
That's right.
right? You can come here.
That's
Here's another
right.
outlet, right? Here's another outlet for you to come here. You don't have to worry about the foolishness.
Right. Absolutely.
Which, when you think about it, from the most talented of children, right? They need that.
Mhm.
Where is a child that gonna hone their acting skills, right? In a safe place,
Yes.
right?
That's
Is it on
right.
the set of Hollywood, right? Is it at TNF, right? Where you as a parent, if I'm thinking of it from a parent perspective or even from a mentor perspective, hey, I know a place,
Mhm.
right, where it's safe for my kids, your kids. I don't have kids yet, but just saying, right? If I have
Yeah.
kids, right, who are artsy, whatever the case is, that want to be safe, that want to act, that want to be casted in the right way,
Yes.
right? Also, that's a big thing. People get typecasted. People, right? They have to play certain roles, right? Or whatever the case is, right?
Yes.
Um, that is a place where it's like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that typecasting here, man. Like, like this is a theater company. It's professional. We're gonna do things the right way. And I love
Yeah.
that. Um, love that you're doing this. And
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad that it was birthed the way that it was birthed.
Yes.
Um, because it wasn't easy, right? You ever heard of a mother who went through hell with a childbirth? Like it's just the most painful, egregious, sick, all the way to the end,
Yes.
complications. Then when they sit there at eighth grade graduation, 12th
Mm.
grade graduation, college graduation, they say the pain was worth it. This is what we did it
Yes.
for. This is what we did it for, to see you graduate, to see this.
Beautiful.
Like
Yes.
that is what I see for this, for you, for TNF, for this theater company. It may have been messy, it may have been painful, it may have been that thing. But when you see the careers birth through this company, when you see the
Yes.
stories birth through this company, when you see all of these things, you sit back and say, it was worth
Beautiful.
it. It
Yes,
was worth it.
absolutely.
Um,
Love it.
and so with that said, where can people pick up the book? Where?
Oh, definitely. Well, this
Oh,
is the
let's see
book.
it. Oh, that's beautiful. Yes.
Thank you. And yes, you can get it from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Google Play, Apple,
Mm,
and iTunes.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
So definitely, yes. And I'm T. Michelle.
Hmm.
And the title is Could You Please Tell Me Which Way to the South?
Absolutely. And the links will, all of Team Michelle's links will be right up under here in the bio, in the body of this podcast. So you don't have to go nowhere. You just literally can just go ahead and click whatever you want. Facebook, Instagram, emails, YouTube, everything is going to be here for you to connect with her, and go from there. But like I said, it was an honor and a pleasure.
Oh, thank
Speaking
you.
with you, hearing your story. It's amazing what you've gone through. It's amazing what you're about to do. So, I don't think but it's not gonna scratch the surface in 2025. It's gonna be amazing going forward. So,
Oh, thank
much
you. Thank you.
appreciated for coming on the show, speaking your truth, telling your story. And to the writers out there, I hope you took notes, because there was lots of gems that was dropped here by Team Michelle. Um, and anybody, I hope you took notes about overcoming adversity, because that's what Team Michelle has done, and lovely, what she has birthed here and what she's going to birth, in the upcoming years. So thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for
Thank you.
agreeing to do the show. Shout out to Nate Noble, for connecting me, for connecting us. And again, thank you. And everybody, please go support the book. Um, Wherever they sell books, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Google Play, right? It's all going to be there. But please support our people. Please support the book. Anything positive, we really want to support, here on this show, who's doing something amazing. We love to support. So please support this book, support Team Michelle. And whenever, next year she opens up the theater company, please support, as much as you possibly can. So thank you again, Team Michelle. I really appreciate you for
Thank
coming on the
you
show.
so much. I appreciate you. And then I do want to mention the theater company. It's TNF Amazing Storybook Productions, but it's also TNF Amazing Storybook Foundation because it's also a nonprofit because the goal is to help those who can't afford, to get into these type of programs, make it to where they can get into the program. So I wanted to make sure
Hmm.
that I put that in there that, it may be hard out there, but we're gonna pull you in with us.
Absolutely. And the foundation's website will be in the email here. I mean, excuse me, in the body of the podcast here. And please support, donate. Nonprofits survive on donations, and a good people, that want to donate to the arts. So please definitely, um open up your pocketbooks, open up your collection plate, pass it around, and show, this foundation some love, because it's going to be amazing, and you want to be a part of it. So again, Team Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. You're amazing. Thank
Uh,
you.
Absolutely, you are absolutely welcome, on the show anytime. Maybe whenever you get your theater, how come we record from there? You would set
That's
you
awesome.
on the stage with you, and we record something nice. But absolutely,
Absolutely.
yeah. I appreciate you. Thank you. And this has been another episode of Conversations of the Heart. As always, is your boy T Till. We will see you soon. Thank you so much. Peace.